Balki had written about, he couldn't imagine something happening after MalGudi Days, something with, even refreshing. So, were there any discussion at any point of time to make it a film or something of that sort?
The first person that I have to give maximum credit to is Balki, because if Balki had not read and said such glorious things, honestly, because Balki was raving so much about this book, and that very night, Balki, maybe he was in that mood or whatever, he just read that and he texted me saying that absolutely gorgeous, beautiful story, send me more. BKP is the only person who for the last 5.5 years, despite, obviously every day he's doing his work, etc., but pretty much every week for 5.5 years, he would call me and say that, Suspi, mujhe karna hi hai. I have known BKP now for the last 25 years. There's not been even a 1% drop in his passion, in his madness, in his energy. He's always in the midst of.
It was great fun watching Half Pence Full Pence, and as everyone has pointed out, we were taken back to those old days of MalGudi Days, and the music also it really resembles the old days of MalGudi Days is what.
Anand, my name is Anand Subara.
पर इसको डब्बा बुलाते हैं. डब्बा, 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 डब्बा.
Yeah.
So welcome, Anand. It's Anand Suspi.
Official name is Anand Subara. Subara was my dad's name. But somewhere in college, I did my MBA from Manipal, and somewhere there, I got this nickname of Suspense, which got shortened to Suspi. So now, for the last 25, 26 years, all my childhood friends call me Dabba. My family members call me Anand. But everybody in the advertising field, ever since I started working, they know me as Suspi. In fact, people who know me for almost 25 years, 95% of them don't even know my second name. So it's kind of become my, so.
I know the book was released a couple of years back. Web series is something that is more, more of the hype these days. So how was the response? What are people talking about?
Obviously, lots of messages. One is on social platforms and also individual messages, WhatsApp from friends, even strangers, etc. It's been, the response has been really beautiful, and people have, everyone's pretty much saying the same thing, what a nostalgic ride. This reminds me of my own childhood, and my childhood was pretty similar, so on and so forth. So it's been very good. Obviously, there are some bad reviews as well. That is bound to happen. There are some people, I've seen some bad reviews where some handful of people find it so slow and dragging, etc., which is fine, to each his own. But by and large, I think the response has been absolutely wonderful. And I guess because it's such a universal story of, obviously all of us have grown up in the same era, in the same period, with the same, social mores and, family values. So it's actually, it's every person's childhood story, really. So yeah, it's been.
I thought, okay, it's our generation, who will be enjoying this much. But the thing is that the rating is being shown like, the kids are really enjoying. So I was in the impression that the superhero ones are the films that the kids will be loving. But, it's on the contrary, it's like people in the 40s to 50s, the rating is something like 8.5 or something, but the rating of kids are like much more. It's close to 10.
Yeah, it's very surprising, Ashish. Honestly, even I'm very surprised with it, because obviously any of this, it just takes so long, right? From when we started to finally that it's out, and throughout to OML who produced it, in all our meetings, and I've always maintained this. I said that I don't think kids will watch this. Obviously, they have no reference point. Their attention spans. I said this is not a show for kids. Yeah, kids will be made to watch it because it's one of those few shows currently where parents can sit with their kids and watch it. But kids is not the primary audience. It has to be, people in mid-30s upwards is what it will appeal to. Even I just, in fact, last evening or this morning, I checked the ratings. I've never logged into IMDb. It's not my thing. But now because of this, I went and I saw the stats there, and I was also very surprised that the kids have given a much higher rating than the adults. Surprising. I don't know, possibly because of, I guess your instinct is right, because I can't see anything which a 12-year-old or a 15-year-old of today would really vibe with in this. There are no reference points, and I'm pretty sure they might, I don't know, they might just find it boring, is my sense. So the whole, possibly the superhero thing, and I say superhero, just this, the freedom to be, because that is universal and that is eternal. So it could be that, I will do what I feel like doing. I will not listen to mom. I will not listen to dad. I will do my own adventures. Of course, our adventures are very different from the kind of adventures that kids possibly today might be thinking of. So I guess that's the point why kids are doing it. Otherwise, I can't think of any other reason. Yeah.
Is this how it is being narrated in the book, and or was it? Is there any difference that is made when this was made into a web series?
No, in terms of the approach and writing, even the book is pretty similar. It was nothing pedantic. I mean, I didn't even think so far ahead that, let me try and write a book and I should not make it very pedantic and, advice from parents. It didn't work like that. One day I just sat down and I remembered some childhood stories. The way I remembered it in my head was this, and all of us, of course, I love my dad. He's no more. We all like our parents and respect our parents. But as kids, you always have so many differences, and you think that your father is a fool. He's an old man. That's what kids, while there is love, there are always moments in everybody's head where you'll curse your parents in your head and says, what a fuddy-duddy, boring person, right? And those are the memories that I had. So even the book is written like that. There is absolutely no, it's just from the child's point of view of what a idiotic, stupid, boring world family that I live in, but I want to do this, etc. So that kind of writing, so naturally from the book, it carried on to the series. It was not a very conscious thought. It was already there. So
another interesting thing which we have already spoken about, Anand, the whole story is being navigated through Anand and his way of thinking. I think the narration is also, in the child perspective, that is again making it interesting. We all know that it won't make a magnet keeping the coin on the rail, but then, we are also believing at some point of time, okay, in kids, mindset, and they are realizing that, but then. After they are, even appreciating more. You didn't make a magnet, but this is something rare, which only you can do. So such things are, even making it more impressive. And towards as each of these episodes are progressing, even more surprises, as in not predictable things. Yeah, of course, some aspects are predictable, but when you write, there will be some aspects that you will add to it, which may not be real. Some of the experiences, but some, that is how literature is, or So how was that happening in the process of writing?
I mean, there is so much material in the book, and of course, I've written of my memories from the time I was in LKG, and I wrote this book. I wrote this book 10 years ago. The book came out 6 years ago. Okay, so when I was say about 41, I wrote from memory. I wrote about incidents and things that happened from the time I was 4.5, 5 years old. And in my estimate, I think about 96, 97% of the book is absolutely real. And I just had all those little memories, including a lot of the dialogues in the book of what mom said and what dad said at that point in time. Pretty much, I cannot say that, it's 100% real because you're writing from memory, but almost 96, 97, 98% of the book, including dialogues and stuff like that, is real. And so at some point when you read the book, there is a lot of material. And there's so many things. It was just memories, and I just kind of, put together all the memories. So when it comes to the show, and to give you an example, like you were talking about. So for instance, magnets didn't happen. This actually happened in school. That, and that's the beauty of childhood, and that's the fickleness of childhood. And this is, sorry, I'm just digressing for a minute. Even when the book came out, this is one of those amazing things, right? Back in the 70s or 80s, all across India, And I must have received more than 100 mails or whatever when the book came out from strangers from different parts of India. And every person knows the magnet story. Every person has tried it. Lots of people have tried it, but every person in India knows this thing.
तो मैग्नेट बना के देगा?
हम मैग्नेट किंग्स बनेंगे गिड्डी, हम मैग्नेट किंग्स.
It's just one of those things back then, which just spread and everybody believed in it. So coming back to this, we were also excited about making magnets, and including the two classmates who gave me coins to turn them into magnets. But the minute the magnets didn't happen, the whole thing was forgotten like this. And that's the beauty of it. They said, magnets we can still buy, but we've never seen coins like this. So like that, even in the book, in pretty much every story, while there is a central theme or there is a central, a central theme and an incident, etc. There is a lot, it's peppered with a lot of little things in and around it. So that material is there. So while writing the show, obviously the show is, I suppose it's about 25-30% of stuff that didn't really happen or happen, or things in and around that for the show because of plot points, because of drama, etc. We've added those things. But a lot of the material is there in the book, and we just took portions from different chapters, etc., and kind of constructed together. Beyond that, for the series, we've obviously also added and thought about, okay, after this, there needs to be something extra. There needs to be some surprising thing, which is the whole screenplay process. So we did that. So I'm saying maybe about 25-30% of the show is additional material, which we thought of and added, which is not there in the book. But otherwise, there's a lot of stuff in the book itself, which we've used here. Yeah.
The thing I was thinking about was the parents of those days. They were quite serious, unlike the parents these days who are like friends with the kids. So and the way Ashish, casting, of course, it's very interesting. The way he responds, way he and I want to write about. He's cooking up a story that he's asked to make an essay or something, and he say pakdo, yellow. So those things. And he's also proud about that. The way he talks about himself and about his family, how he's upbringing the children. So how was how did you see in the characterization in the casting? Probably you may also be part of, but Ashish playing that dad's role. How could you relate to even a mom also, Sonali?
Of course, we discussed various names. It was VKP, it was the Amazon team, it was the OML team. All collectively, decided who should play this. One of the, like with Ashish Vidyarthi, one of the things, and very naturally that we discussed was, obviously all of us know his acting prowess, okay? But, for the longest time, Ashish also, by and large, he plays a lot of negative roles. And that's the slotting that happens with, it's unfortunate, but that's the thing that happens in the film industry and all of that. And therefore, we were wondering, a character like Subbarao, lower middle class, pious, God-fearing, simple, modest, etc. And then the screen persona of Ashish Vidyarthi for so many years. Because if you say Ashish Vidyarthi, most people will say that, oh yeah, he's great as a villain. So we're saying, it was not that any of us had any doubts about whether he'll be able to. But it was whether that's the kind of right match. And then we felt, maybe, that might actually be a very interesting way of doing it. And in fact, while shooting and, the first conversation that I had with Ashish, etc., he was also saying, yeah, it's so refreshing to play something different because I keep getting a lot of these, very similar kind of roles, and this is very, very different. Now, beyond that, firstly, an actor of his caliber. And second thing is, see, all our parents, again, universal, my entire generation, all our parents are similar. I'm sure your father is no different from Subbarao, or anybody's father or mother is any different. Everybody spoke the same, everybody thought the same, everybody's values were the same, etc. Ashish has also grown up similarly. So for him to play this and, to get the pitch right, it didn't even take him a second. He just read it, this is the character, and it's so natural because he's also grown up hearing the same things, watching the same things, etc. So it was similarly with Sonali, again a phenomenal actor. And again, today, they're stars, they're celebrities, they've put in years of hard work, etc. But otherwise, they're all grown up as, a small town or a slightly bigger town, but lower middle class people with the same values. So yeah, it was wonderful.
Even the train had that emotional attachment also. People go to Bombay or to another city, and we see the train moving, and it's kind of a sad, especially sad evenings. So that kind of emotion. And when I talk about that, the guards room and the visual from there, it's very beautiful. I mean, when I put the post, I had used that image because it's very I don't know what our emotions connect to a person watching from there, which normally no one can do that. Otherwise, you are, you're a railway, associate. But that visual was really amazing.
Guard compartment, it's strange. Though I grew up in the railways, when I turned about 16 or 17, I lost all interest in railways. I didn't want to travel by trains. I prefer to travel by government buses than travel by trains. And Dad could never get it, saying, you can travel comfortably in a train and why are you struggling in a bus? But I just kind of lost that. But coming back to this point, that guard compartment, the train itself is such a beautiful machine, for everybody. It's such a joy to watch. And the guard compartment, there's something magical about it. The last thing, half closed, half open, and you'll always see it's such a visual of one man detached from, especially goods train. It's fascinating. There's one engine here and maybe half a kilometer or 1 kilometer in between of nothingness. I mean, nobody there, and just one compartment there and one lone man standing there waving the flag. It's a very beautiful visual. Yeah.
Even Balki had written about, he couldn't imagine something happening after MalGudi Days, something with, even refreshing. So, were there any discussion at any point of time to make it a film or something of that sort?
Balki he was the chairman of Lintas. I spent a lot of my career working in Lintas. And Balki was obviously was the big boss. Absolutely living legend. Absolutely wonderful man. Not because, he said glorious things about it, but he's a living legend, and anybody in advertising, thousands and thousands of us have interacted with Balki, we know him. But I started writing the book, and when I started writing the book, after almost 12 years, I had quit Lintas. Okay? And the other bit is, it is not that, I was like me, there were so many people in Lintas working under Balki, a lot of them are supremely talented, creative directors. So we were kind of called Balki's boys. There is Piyush Pandey's boys, there's Balki's boys. It was like that. So I was just one of them. And I had quit Lintas after 12 long years. And I started writing it, and it was completely accidental. I didn't even set out to write a book or any of that. And because we had spent so many years working under Balki, and I had moved to Gurgaon, I had gone to Bombay, and I just called Balki to just say hi to him. And Balki said, "Superb, what are you doing? What are you up to? You've started your own little agency. Are you doing okay? If you're in town, drop in for a cup of coffee." So I dropped into Lintas to have a cup of coffee with Balki and just spent 5 minutes because he would be always so busy. And accidentally he said, "So what else are you doing?" And I said, "I don't know, Balki, I just started writing some childhood memories. I've written about 2 stories." That man always has a million things on his plate, some instinct. And Balki said, "Hey, send it to me. I'd like to read it." It was that accidental. So I'd only written 2 stories, 2 or 3, and I sent those stories to him. And that very night, Balki, maybe he was in that mood or whatever, he just read that and he texted me saying that absolutely gorgeous, beautiful stories, send me more. To be very honest, Ashish, all on hindsight, a lot of things look very clear, become very clear. But when I was writing, I was writing it only for myself. And I didn't even want to write a book. That was not the pursuit at all. I just said that, it's been so many years in advertising, you just end up writing very little. But you grow up thinking that you're going to be a writer, but that advertising is a very different form of writing. And you're writing 30-second scripts and you're writing, print ad copy, which is hardly, very different kind. That's very commercial writing. So I just started writing to convince myself that, I can describe a place, I can describe an emotion. It was that kind of an exercise. Balki. And then memories kept tumbling out, and I kept writing and kept sharing those with Balki. And this went on for almost 4-5 months. So even fresh off the oven as I was writing it, Balki was the only person that I kept sharing these stories with, 1-2 at a time. And he would promptly read the very same day or the very same night and text me late at night saying, "Oh, hilarious, beautiful, gorgeous, send me more, send me more." So this process went on. And back then, and I'm talking about 2012 and 2013, and Balki said, "Suspi, by the time I had finished it, nobody had, other than me and a couple of friends who had read certain chapters, it was only Balki who had read the entire manuscript as it was, unedited, the very first version." And he said that it's absolutely gorgeous. I've never read such joyful writing, such beautiful writing. A book is book. The book will come out. That's okay. But this deserves a much bigger platform. We have to do something. And Balki told me this very clearly. He said, "Suspi, it's not that I want to direct this. I want to make a movie. Nothing. Okay. I don't even know. All I know is that I will do everything to make this become much bigger. Whoever can direct it, whoever can do it, whatever I can do, given my, obviously, he was on a much bigger platform. He said, whatever I can do, I will try my damnedest to make this become much bigger. Okay. Beyond this, even I don't know. All I know is that this has to be made into something bigger. So for almost 2 years, we stayed like that. And Balki was never about, he said, "I just love the writing too much. Yeah, whatever happens." In fact, Balki did try something with Mr. Bachchan. He tried quite a bit. Okay? And it didn't work out. And Balki, the man that he is, after about 2 years, one day he called me and said that, "Speak, currently, whatever I've tried, it's not working out. Okay? So you go ahead and get the book published and let it be there." So that was that. So I always, in fact, this whole journey, the first person that I have to give maximum credit to is Balki. Because if Balki had not read and said such glorious things, honestly, because Balki was raving so much about this book, and the book had not even been published. It was just a sheaf of papers, spiral bound. That was it. And he had read it and he loved it so much. And he kept talking about this book in Lintas to anybody he would meet. Because of which, very naturally, a lot of, because of the advertising background, different directors, production houses, etc. Lots of them called, "Hey, Balki is saying such great things, but where is the book?" The book was not even out. So, and it's not that, I was just doing spiral bound and handing it over to everybody. It was Balki's conviction and thing that got a lot of people interested in it. People started checking, can we look at it? Can we try and do this into a series, etc. And I would obviously cross-check with Balki. Somebody calls it. He said, "Whoever wants to do it, and I will pitch in wherever I can." This went on. So that's the journey. VKP read the book when the book came out. And it has almost been 5.5 years. And since that day, I've had conversations with lots of people, which is very natural. Some people are interested, then they lose interest, or it doesn't work out, so on and so forth. And then the conversation kind of stops there. VKP is the only person who, for the last 5.5 years, despite, obviously, every day he's doing his work, etc., but pretty much every week for 5.5 years, he would call me and say that, "Suspi, mujhe karna hi hai, iska karna hi hai." I mean, that man's pursuit of this. So the second person really is VKP. He's just been at it. And for 3.5, 4 years, VKP, in the course of his work, whether it's feature films, whether it's ad films, whoever he meets, he keeps talking about this book. And so hats off to him, eternally indebted. So finally, it took us 3.5, 4 years for it to move. And then OML came into the picture, and finally Amazon was convinced, and they were very excited to do this. So, sorry, pretty long-winded, but I think these are, at least for me, these are very important things to kind of talk about.
No, it's naturally very interesting journey because I can see Balki how he's feeling about it, and especially the age group probably that you are recalling the childhood, and you are being carried away by even VKP sir also, and Ahmed, because we talk among our friends like like the most energetic person in film industry is like VKP. So because he is simultaneously doing the films, and at the same time there will be other which he'll be listening to at the same time the ads are being happening. So
He's really crazy. I mean, he's blessed. At his age, people say age is not a factor. You're as young as you think you are, etc. All those are statements. It can't be beyond a certain thing. But I have known BKP now for the last 25 years. There's not been even a 1% drop in his passion, in his madness, in his energy. He's always in the midst of. It's crazy. And so much joy and laughter. Oh God.
So anything more coming up in the, and now this is kind of an excitement. We as an audience can see the excitement of, writing a book, and then that is getting translated. Yeah, of course, it took the ups and downs, pains, and, happiness happening in between, but then it has come out as a web series, and it's really wonderful. So anything that is more coming up in writing, or anything more?
My next thing was to write the second book, which I'm in the process of almost finishing that second book. Yeah. So hopefully the next thing should be, at least on my plate, is to bring that book out. It's taken me about 3.5, 4 years to write it. So quite happy with the way that's turned out. So that's there. And now, very naturally, I'm in a very related field. 25 years, I've just done advertising. This obviously now, there will be certain conversations. I'm pretty sure some people will call up and say, is there anything else? Do you have something else? Can we do a conversation? Can we discuss? This will happen. So don't know. So let's see. And this particular thing is, everything is like it's such a long journey, right? Even if something starts, then it takes at least a couple of years. But yeah, it's nice. It's interesting, exciting. So currently, nothing is, there is no, this is the next project and we've started working. None of that. Still kind of recovering from the release of this. It's just been a week. But I'm pretty sure in the next month or two, there should be some conversations. But like I said, at my end, the only next concrete thing is the second book that I'm kind of completing now. Yeah.
There is a scripting process which you are also part of, obviously, and there was money, and because you have also been writing for print and TVCs, and so you have a visual approach as well. So and there is VKP who will be visualizing or making it, conceiving and having it for the visuals. So how that process happened?
Well, I've been an ad writer, and that obviously, so for 25 years I've been doing it. So with my eyes closed, I can write ads, but that's only 30 seconds. And honestly, I've never done a screenplay. Now, doing a 30-second screenplay versus doing long format, while some of the principles, etc., might be the same, but it's a completely different ballgame. Yeah, I've never read a book on screenplay writing. I also don't watch too many movies. I'm not a very avid movie watcher, even compared to a regular person, because people consume a lot of it. I'm not much into movies. I've never done a course in screenplay writing. Nothing. Everything is very instinctive. But writing a screenplay, adapting the book into a screenplay is not an easy task. And to be very honest, I don't know how to write a screenplay. Because I've never done it. Okay? I'm sure there is a large method to it. I know different people. I've never written a writer's course, a screenwriting course. Never read a book on it. Don't watch movies with a keen eye for, okay, this is how they've done. None of it. It was there. So thankfully, OML got money on board. So money obviously, shuttles between Kerala and Bangalore, and I was sitting in Gurgaon. And because money has done it, and and he works with OML, so that's how they got. Otherwise, I don't think we would have come here. So a lot of credit to money. Money read the book. He absolutely loved it. Money put down the structure. And therefore, and post that for almost 8 months, 7 to 8 months, this is what we were doing. So we had our episodic synopsis, we had a broad plot points, we took different things, all of which money kind of structured together. Then once that was clear, then writing out the scenes. I mean, that is, of course, I had not done this earlier. I would only do 30 seconds, but it was my life. It was my book. Obviously, some scenes, we had to kind of visualize or things that are not in the book or think of, etc. All of it is okay. Once it's kind of broken down and kind of structured, which is Money's thing, Money himself. So I would end up, Money would write the scenes. I would end up writing a lot of the scenes, etc. And then for almost 7-8 months, Money and I would do a conversation every evening for an hour, hour and a half, and then I would write and send it to him, and he would make the changes. We would discuss. So it was a good 8-month process. As soon as we would finish each episode, once Mani and I were kind of sure of each episode, then we would do a meeting with OML and VKP and narrate the episode to them. So obviously, their opinion, their expertise, their views, okay, this is working, this is not working, the middle needs to change, the end needs to change. So VKP would look at it from a filmmaker's perspective. OML would look at it as content expert because they've done so many shows. So it was that team which worked like this for 8 months. Then Mani and I would go back and rewrite certain scenes, rethink certain plot points and kind of do that. And once we would be ready with 2 or 3 episodes, we would then narrate it to Amazon. Once as a team, we were all, so this process went on. The interesting that I have to tell you is this, firstly, I'm a Kannadiga. Of course, I've been in Bombay for many years and now in Gurgaon for almost 15 years, but I think in English and I write in English. And my Hindi is, I still, like most of us South Indians, the gender and plural and grammar, etc., all of that, I just don't get it. And I've never written in Hindi. I mean, I didn't write for a 30-second dialogue. Today, being here for 15 years, and I don't converse in Hindi that much, okay? But just being surrounded by it, etc., somewhere subliminally that happened. Now, writing the series, so initially we agreed that, and Mani doesn't know Hindi. So the initial thing was, let's get the screenplay right. And they said, you write the dialogues in English. And then we'll get a Hindi writer to kind of do that. But this to me, and it's been a nice surprise, as I was writing it, instead of keying out the dialogues in English, because that to me was not working. What is the flavor? You write it in English and then get translated into Hindi, somehow didn't sit right. So I said, okay, however bad is my Hindi or however incorrect is my Hindi, let me try and put it. And I just started writing and it just flowed. That part to me was very beautiful and it was a surprise even to myself. Maybe 15 years of just being here subliminally, kind of happened. It's not that I was completely unaware of it. I was in Bombay, etc. But you don't think in Hindi, you don't. I really just thank God for being here for 15 years. So it just, obviously we got Gaurav, who's a Hindi writer. I got a good friend, Manoj Taparia, who's a lyricist and who's done dialogues for movies, etc. He also had a look at it. He changed certain things. He added certain things, corrected certain things, all of which is there. But by and large, the entire series, the dialogues, I was quite surprised that I managed to write it in Hindi.
Again, another interesting process, and now you were part of screenwriting, screenplay writing, and you did the dialogues. All this happened. So when you go back to the writing table or whatever you have written so far, will that get influenced, or and that you'll have a more visual perspective, or is there anything happening knowingly or unknowingly, involuntarily?
Honestly, I don't know, Ashish. Hopefully, if when I start working on the next project, and once you get into the writing process and you're spending hours and writing out, I might find, I'm still not sure, I might find that this experience and this process, is either giving me more clarity on how to write, thinking visually. Like VKP told me, he said, Bete, VKP's favorite bit, he said, now that you've written this, the next time you sit down to write, you'll have a lot more clarity on how to move between scenes. Obviously, the filmmakers, his shot, any director's shot breakdown, etc. A lot of it, sometimes as writers, we write extra, we write too much information, which is of no interest to a filmmaker, including sequencing of events, a whole lot of things, etc. Obviously, it's a trial and error process. Even this season 1 that we wrote in the screenplay, there were a lot of things. In every episode, VKP will finally come and say, okay, till here it makes sense. I don't need this scene, knock this scene off. This is unnecessary scene. We don't need to say this. We can convey the same point. So that's the filmmaker's thing. That's his expertise. And VKP was telling me the next time you sit down to write, because you've gone through this process, you will be able to you'll understand and you'll know what to keep, what not to keep, what to weed out, etc., etc. But honestly, I don't know. I'm sure it's a subliminal process, but I'll have to start writing something else again and go through that lengthy process, and then I'll be able to figure out, maybe this. I'm sure whatever 5%, 10% additional, idea of, okay, so hopefully soon I'll discover when I start writing again.
So, like the writing process, as you said, it started flowing when you started writing. So probably, yeah. While we conclude, did you see Chup Balki's film?
So it first day, first show.
Even I also saw that, and I was really excited.
I absolutely loved it, and because I was just amazed at the plot. I don't think anybody in the world has thought of a plot like this. It is so unique and different. And then I just loved the whole the mashup of Guruda. That part was just that was a magical part of it. Absolutely.
And something about I have not seen in any of the Indian films. Maybe it is that my film vocabulary is less. So like talking to oneself, kind of both these characters are doing, and that's also adding to the to the narration. So that's an interesting part which I also observed.
Complex.
Any of the VKP films that excited you?
Yeah. In fact. Freaky Chakra, of course, that is when it came out. Yeah, and that was also his first. I think it was his first Hindi film, obviously, and that was back then. Because we always knew him as an ad filmmaker, and then Freaky Chakra, BKP doing a film in Hindi. In fact, I have to watch 5-6 of his other movies. The whole last year and a half, I know people will say year and a half and you don't have time to watch movies, etc. You're not writing 24 hours, etc. But like I said, this was my first time and I'm a different kind. Some people will, write for 3-4 hours a day and then relax with a movie or a show, etc. Mine was, unfortunately, I didn't find the mind space to kind of do that. I said, let me finish this assignment, let me finish this, etc. And then sit back, relax and so I want to watch, I'm very keen to watch Shutter, BKP Shutter. Yeah, I need to see that. A couple of other movies now.
Nice you brought Freaky Chakra. It was, at that point of time, it was totally refreshing. No one could have thought about such a, way of making it. And Deepthi Naval, whom we have been adoring and, quite refreshing. Even now, if you watch it, even though many people take the credits of making something indie or kind of thing, that is really the refreshing one at that point of time. Of course, we give his energy, the way he,
he's pure soul. He's an absolutely pure soul. He's mad. It's just, and this one especially, and VKP is, when I say pure soul, for him, it's only the work that matters and nothing else. It is not about where you're sitting, what you're eating, how you're dressing, what car you're driving, none of those. That is so pure and zero pretenses about anything. Very, very few people like this, especially, forget not especially entertainment industry. I mean, that is one added step. Any industry, all of us, as we grow up and we, all of us, different kinds of ego kind of just creeps in. Some people very willfully draw ego and walk around strutting with that ego. Even a lot of regular people, that ego, varied kinds, kind of creeps in. He keep all these. He's just so himself, so pure, so real. He's quite an exceptional human being. And therefore, I mean, the way he deals with people, he interacts with people, it's just completely different. And he's an absolute magician with kids because he's a kid himself, really. So therefore, this show with all those kids, oh God, it's just every day, every hour is such a joy. And the conversations that he has with those kids, outstanding. I can't think of any other director. I'm sure there are lots of very good directors and directors who are good with kids, but I'm not an expert, But VKP is so different for all of us who know him. we can all imagine how BKP will be with kids, right? Because he can be such a kid himself, and he is. So that part was really beautiful.
The process is a little longer than of course he has done a web series in between, I think.
Of course, because feature film is roughly about 2 hours or 2 hours 25 minutes. I think this is close to 4 hours, and therefore I think we shot for almost 55 days. And because BKP had been in his head, he had been living this for the last 5 years. Our writing process took about 8 months, but once the writing process started, obviously one is you finish the writing process, lock in the script pretty much, say about 90% of it you lock in, and then the filmmaker will sit with his team and then start his kind of thing. That's the thing. But BKP was also part of when I say part of the writing process, we would finish episodes and then narrate to him, and then he would have his points. So through that process, in fact, we didn't get too much time for pre-production, because our writing process took a little longer. Okay? And BKP was very clear that he wanted to shoot. He ideally wanted to start shooting in December, though we ended up shooting in Jan and Feb. But he wanted to shoot in December because by Jan and Feb, he said, I will lose the greens there. So he wanted that. But our writing process took and therefore, between locking in the script, final locking of the script with Amazon, and jumping into production, honestly, BKP didn't get much time because it got truncated because of this. But thankfully, through the whole 8 months of writing process, and BKP kept hearing, he had a lot of the homework done in his head already, which is how he managed to do it. So I think within the final locking of the script and getting into production, I think was less than a month, if I'm not mistaken, something. But he had a lot of things already sorted in his head, and therefore he managed that.
Thank you so much, Anand. It was wonderful listening to you. From the story of Shimoga to ad filmmaking and this half pants, full pants. Very enjoyable. Especially maybe in my age, I can relate to many things. That is, MalGudi Days was something which was very close to heart for anyone of this age or younger also. But then something that I could relate to as much as that. So thank you for bringing that. Such a writing for us. Which I'll collect the book sometime in the next couple of weeks. But of course, now web series is really exciting. I hope more good reviews are coming up in the coming days. Wish you all the best. Wish you a wonderful time and have a great new year.
Thanks a lot for speak to me. It was beautiful chatting with you, and we'll be in touch. Thanks, Akhilesh. Thank you so much.